I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Monday, March the 9th, with news from Arkansas. Readers of the Arkansas Times and the Arkansas Times blog, I hope you're readers of it, should be keeping up with Benji Hardy's incredible reporting on the case of Representative Justin Harris's and his adoption of two children that he turned over to a man who was a teacher in his school. The man raped one of the children and is now serving a prison sentence. This opened a window on the practice of so-called rehoming, the placement of adopted children in other homes without the conventional review process that normally occurs when, for example, the state handles an adoption procedure. Justin Harris had a tearful news conference Friday afternoon with his wife. He put the blame for anything that happened on the state Human Services Department. He also said he supported legislation that's now been filed that would make illegal the very practice that he himself had engaged in. He said he did what he did because he was afraid that DHS was going to pursue abandonment charges against him. There was a lot about his story that didn't fit with the facts as we know them, particularly a foster family that had these children before the Harrises adopted them, who've talked extensively to Benji about the situation and said that the Harrises had been counseled repeatedly that there were difficulties for these children and it wasn't a good placement for them, but they wanted to go ahead with it anyway. They seem to have a religious zeal about the matter. There's going to be a lot more about this case to come. We know that top officials of the Department of Human Services are meeting today with Asa Hutchinson, who's taken a great interest in the case. I think we're yet to hear more about potential shakeup at DHS as a result of this, certainly in procedures, if not in personnel. Other legislative issues, I think we're going to see action this week on a big tax bill. I believe the legislature is prepared to give back all of a capital gains tax cut that Asa Hutchinson had rolled back slightly as part of his plan to cut middle income taxes earlier in the session. The Republicans in the House simply were not happy at the loss of this capital gains tax cut, which includes a total exemption for profits over $10 million, really a boon to the rich. The only people that didn't get a tax cut this session so far are working poor who make less than $21,000 a year. Asa Hutchinson provided not a single dollar of tax cuts for them. Warwick Sabin, a Democrat from Little Rock, has a bill that would provide an earned income tax credit to such people. It remains to be seen if the Republicans in the House have as much sympathy for poor people as they do for rich people when it comes to taxes. Another huge legislative issue that surfaced late last week is an amazing bill out of the Education Committee, again being put forward by lobbyists for the Walton Family Foundation, which favor more charter schools in Arkansas. It would allow the state education department to create a so-called achievement school district for all schools and districts, entire districts, that have been found to be in academic distress, and could turn these districts over to private management companies. They wouldn't have to honor union contracts. There wouldn't have to be a fair dismissal law. It would be a sweeping delegation of state authority to private companies. It would include release from all manner of state laws that imply in virtually every endeavor. There's a great fear that this is aimed directly at the Little Rock School District, that when Johnny Key takes over as Asa Hutchinson State Education Director, that the plan will be to outsource the entire Little Rock School District, or a major part of it. There's going to be a community meeting tonight in Little Rock to talk about a rising protest to that idea. Today is the deadline for filing new bills in the legislature, and they're flooding in by the dozens. There's going to be a lot of mischief and a lot of junk in it. I noticed just recently 2 legislators from Jonesboro have introduced a bill to make a felony of female genital mutilation in Arkansas. Not that I'm a defender of the practice, which is found mostly in some African and Asian countries, and a religious custom that's been seen by many as a human rights violation. Why a couple of Craighead County legislators needed to propose it, I'm not entirely sure. We've got a bill that may come out of the House today that allows people to carry guns into polling places. You never know when you might be in danger when you go to vote. And also, there's a really hot bill the newspapers are upset about. It would end the practice of requiring governments to put paid public service ads for governments in newspapers. Why not put it for free online? The newspapers think that's a terrible idea, as you might imagine. U.S. Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas has gotten big headlines today. He was the ringleader of a letter signed by 47 senators that wags a finger at Iran and says, just remember, if President Obama negotiates an arms treaty with you and the Congress isn't part of it, it won't last after his presidency. I think the Ayatollah already knew that. It sounds perilously close to Tom Cotton getting into negotiating with a foreign government to a certain degree, or perhaps just issuing threats toward them, so that may not be engaging in treaty negotiation. In other news around our wonderful city and state, the University of Arkansas Medical Sciences is getting good headlines around the country because of scientific research. They've trained a dog, a German Shepherd mix named Frankie, to sniff out thyroid cancer. He's apparently just as successful using his nose as an invasive biopsy procedure is. Great news out of UAMS. Fayetteville police and fire responded to a pipe bomb report today and blew up a device that was feared to be a pipe bomb. Turned out to be a piece of PVC pipe that fell off the back of a construction truck. And finally, in the don't that beat all category, you've probably heard a lot about Hillary Clinton's email controversy and whether she was too secretive about it. I didn't think he would go there, but he did. Mike Huckabee in Iowa over the weekend jumped into the Hillary Clinton email affair and said she was secretive and may have broken the law, and who knows what all he did. The significance here, of course, is that Mike Huckabee went to court because somebody tried to get email he had sent on a private email account and would not release. He shredded his computer hard drives when he left his office. He never would release any emails, any documents, or anything in his governor's office. He left office fighting to the end in court to prevent release of a private email by one of his appointees of the parole board who passed around naughty pictures of naked women. Mike Huckabee is going to talk to us about Hillary Clinton's email that does beat all. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.